So I was talking to a client, and one of the most common things that we get asked all the time is how can you make sure that we get high ROAS? And it's a very common question that we get asked because our typical test budget is anywhere between 15 and 30 grand in month one. This isn't over the course of 3 months or 4 months. This is in a single month we're spending 15 to 30K. And oftentimes, again, we'll get asked, how do you make sure that we have a high return on our ad spend? And what I like to say before I get into any of this video and how to actually do that is one, there are no income claims. Two, we guarantee nothing. And three, if any agency is telling you, hey, we can get you 3x return on your ad spend, we can guarantee you 10 high ticket clients in month one, they're lying to you. Getting a high ROAS, it's a systematic process. It's very easy to do when you understand what you're doing. The problem is the chances of you doing that in month one are extremely low. And so this video is going to break down the 3 key levers that we tell all of our clients to implement in order to maximize their chances of having a high return on their ad spend. Now, it's important to understand before we get into any of that, what ad buying, media buying, running ads actually is and how it works. And I want you to think about this in almost a timeline perspective. What you are doing is you are buying data. That is all paid advertising is. And so if we visualize this on a timeline, what this looks like from ad to return on ad spend is a bunch of individual data points, things like your click-through rate, things like your CPMs, your show rate, your close rate, even your LTV. And what you are doing when you're breaking up this 15 to 30 grand test budget is you are paying to solve each one of these metrics, right? So for example, if I put 5K in to solve my CTR, that may bring me up to like a 0.2 return on my ad spend. If I spend 5 grand to solve my CPM, that might bring me to a 0.5. If I spend 5 to solve my show rate, that may bring me to a 0.75, right? And maybe my close rate brings me up to a 1.5. And then when I increase my LTV, maybe that brings me to a 3.0. All I'm doing is I'm spending 5K to solve each one of these metrics. Now, if we really simplify this process, again, if that's 5K here, 5K here, 5K here, 5K here, 5K here, that's 25K. And there you go. I spent 25K to hit that 3x return on my ad spend. Throughout this process, though, I have no guarantee that that's actually going to make me any money. Not here, not here, not here, or here, right? I could be break even here after losing money for the first 15K in spend. And so that's how I need you to be thinking about this before making any assumptions that, hey, I'm going to become profitable. I'm going to have a profitable ROAS right out of the gate. And so the way that we approach this is 3 key components, like I mentioned. Number 1 is messaging. And the last one is going to be one of the more important things that most people don't teach you. It's a little more technical, so stay till the end to see that. If you're curious to learn a little bit more about how you run ads, you can just call their agency below. But again, the number 1 thing to understand is messaging. Messaging is something that you not only test in month 1, but it's something you test as you really start ramping. So your messaging that you use at $1,000 a day is going to be very different than messaging that you use at 5K a day, at 6K a day, at 10K a day. And so you need to understand how to actually approach messaging. And it's very, very similar to this process of buying data, right? With messaging, all that I'm doing is I am looking to understand who, I'm looking to understand what, and I'm looking to understand where. And I want you to think about these questions in multiple different ways, not just at a very surface level understanding. So who could be the avatar? It could be desire-based, right? So for example, let's say I'm selling sales training to a specific industry. I speak to that specific industry. That is the avatar. If I'm selling a BizOp, I speak more to a desire than I am to a specific individual. You can pair the both. I recommend you pair the both. But again, who isn't necessarily one or the other. It's a combination. Same thing with what. What can be resources? What resources do they have? It can be what is the outcome they're looking for, right? And a couple other points. But again, I want you to think about this in multiple different perspectives. So do they have 10K to invest? Do they have 5K to invest? Do they have a 650 credit score, right? What are the resources they have? And then the outcome. Are they looking to make 10K a month? Are they looking to double their close rate, right? What is the desired outcome that they are looking for from the ad or from whatever we are selling them? And then where? Where have they spent money? Right? Where have they tried before? Where can we find them? Again, 2 different approaches to the same question. And so what this looks like when you put it all together is, and we do this on every single one of our ads, especially in the beginning, and oftentimes this will cause us to spend more money in the initial test, is we will straight up say, if your XYZ with ABC to deploy, and you have been looking for GHI, whatever. And what this does is this is a very clear statement about who we want to buy. Very, very clear, very, very apparent, makes the process of testing, again, going back to the buying data, makes the process of testing a lot easier. What I also need you to understand if you're using a statement like this is your ad cost will be a lot higher than if you go generic, right? The more specific that I am, the higher my costs. The more broad I am, the lower my costs. And there is a time to be broad. I'm not saying don't be broad. But if you want to increase your chances of having a high return on your ad spend right when you start, you need to understand that the more specific you are, the increased likelihood of you succeeding will be. And this is just very basics. Again, if you're looking for more information on specifics, like talking about the problem, talking about circumstances, talking about the desired outcome. Again, describing the outcome is very, very different. Think about it like a sales call. You find the problem and then you just tie it into whatever the desired outcome that they're looking for is, right? So each outcome has different problems tied to it. So understanding how these all work in tandem as well. And this is something that you figure out, again, from testing. But in principle, to start out, you want to start with a very specific avatar type and you want to avoid being very, very broad. And that's the first part of this process is messaging. Now, the second part of this process, and this is one of the most overlooked components of running any type of paid ads or any type of business in general, is how can I maximize my LTV? This is a very common problem that most people don't talk about. And what it looks like is they'll have one offer and that's all they have. Let's say it's like a 5K thing. That's all they sell. That's a huge problem. Because what happens is, let's say this is my pool of buyers. Let's say half want the 5K thing. There could be another quarter that would buy something for $1,000 or for $2,000. And there could be another quarter that would buy something for, maybe $10,000. Maybe they want something a little more expensive from you. And here's what's interesting. There's an even smaller subset that may want something for $100K. And so what happens is a lot of people will buy us for this one offer and they won't offer the rest. And now the next question we'll commonly get is, well, okay, Zach, that sounds all great. That sounds awesome. But how do I fulfill on that? And this is one of the best tips you can use in order to maximize your return on ad spend is take whatever your core offer is and start by subtracting pieces. So if they get all this for 5K, maybe they get just this for 3K. Maybe they get just this for 1K, right? But you are not adding any operational complexity to the actual business. You're just gating different pieces depending on how much you pay. And then what you can also do if you want to really drive it up is, let's say I pay 5K for all this. So let's say this is just 5K. What I can then do is I can add a couple of things. Maybe it's an extra group call. Maybe it's a one-on-one with me, right? I can add things and I can up it to 10K. And so all I'm doing for the offer to increase my LTV is I'm just breaking off different pieces to make sure fulfillment stays simple, but also increase my LTV per client. What I can also do on the LTV side is I can entertain different pricing structures. So I can do, let's say, 5K up front. And instead of doing lifetime, I can do 5K for 3 months. And then I can add a 1K a month after that. Recurring, right? However you want to write that. But I can add a 1K a month recurring. And what I've then done is, instead of just letting people churn out or giving them lifetime access for $5,000, I now add a 1K per month component and my business begins to compound. And so what'll happen is you'll see your ad campaigns do this. So when you first start spending, maybe it'll be at $0. But as you start to compound, you get into month 4, 5, 6, 7, you'll start to see that compounding ROAS. Maybe you'll be at a 6x over the lifetime of the campaign. And so that's another thing that most people don't think about. And it's a common thing that's used in the software business, which I also find interesting that most people don't talk about, is the reason that a SaaS company can dump so much into ads is because they are focused on the LTV. And it's why they take on so much money. Because ironically enough, as much as people are focused on the front end ROAS of being like a 1.0 or a 3.0, in SaaS, it's typically around a 0.6. Right? You're not even break even on the front end. But because they know that the LTV will come out to like a 6.0, they're willing to spend a fuck ton in the beginning. And so that's another way to really maximize your chances of having a high return on your ad spend, is understanding your LTV. And if you pair these two, you pair you're able to test your messaging and you restructure your offer. You figure out a way to increase the LTV of your clients. The last one that I think is a pro tip, more on the Facebook side, but really with anything, is understanding how to pixel condition or how to leverage pixel conditioning. And most people don't talk about it. This is going to be a little more technical for some of you guys that are brand new to Facebook. And again, if you're looking to run ads with us as an agency, or you just want some consulting help, you can book a call below, learn a little bit more. But the way I want you to think about your pixel is it is your filtering mechanism, right? And so you feed it data on one end to then get out the desired outcome or the desired data point that you want. So for example, this can be something like, I only want PIFs coming through. I only want showed calls coming through. I only want people with a 650 credit score, right? And I can feed it data to then give me the desired outcome or the desired buyer. Now, what will oftentimes happen is sometimes your pixel will start feeding you bad data, right? Your event match quality will drop. You won't be bringing the right people. And there's a very easy solution to this. I want you to think about your pixel as you would a little kid, right? When a little kid does something you don't want them to do, what do most parents do? Puts them in timeout. This is the same thing for your pixel. If your kid behaves, what do you then do? You reward them. It is the same principle for pixel conditioning that you treat training a little kid. And so let's say that this is your funnel. Let's say I have a good old VSL funnel down here, right? Application, video, blah, blah, blah. If all of a sudden my pixel starts bringing in shitty people, I'm going to want to remove the pixel from the page. I'm going to want to put them in timeout. As soon as I start getting people that I want, I'm going to want to put the pixel back on the page. It's very, very simple, yet people do not understand this, and it causes them to scale into campaigns that just aren't working, right? The pixel works on something called recency bias, meaning whatever has been fed to it most recently will dictate what comes out the other end. And so if I remove, well, then I'm telling the pixel, hey, bad result. You got a bad result. Feed me something good. And as soon as they get what they want, cool, that's what I want as a result. Right? Very, very simple. And there are other things that you can do to increase your event match quality, to use Conversion API, to mix web and server events, to make sure that you're bringing in the right type of buyers. And that's something, again, if you book a call, we can talk more about. But the key principle here is you want to treat your pixel like a little kid. And if you do all of these three things, if you understand how to test the basics of your messaging, you maximize your offer's LTV, and you treat your pixel, in Facebook's case, like a little kid, and you put it in timeout, and you understand how to better train your pixel to get you the result that you want, your chances of a high ROAS increase drastically. But again, to kind of recap all of this, I need you to look at your funnel as if you are buying data, or ads like you are buying data. In the first 30 days, the likelihood of you being profitable is low. In the first 60 days, the likelihood of you being profitable is medium. It can happen, but typically you'll be break even around this point. Around that 90-day mark is when you really have a high probability of being profitable. Now, at no point, again, do I guarantee a high ROAS, but understanding these timelines allows you to sit in what we call the burn rate for a longer period of time, right? From here to here, essentially, is what we consider the burn rate, which is just how long does it take for me to turn profitable and how much money will I spend in that process. If you're not comfortable spending money on ads, or burning money on ads rather, you are going to have a hard time scaling. But if you can do what we went over in this video, your likelihood of having a high ROAS significantly increases. If you can weather the storm, you understand the fundamentals of scaling campaigns and running ads, it will change drastically. So if you guys have any questions about this, comment them below. I reply to all the comments. I may even make a video if it seems something necessary to do. Like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. And again, let me know if you like more content like this with a little doodling and stuff like that. So appreciate you guys, and I will talk to you in the next one.